The wind whispers tales of empires. Temujin's descendant, Batu, surveyed Constantinople. A city of legend, a jewel of the West. He questioned its strength, its defenses, its spirit. A clash of worlds was brewing, a collision of cultures poised to reshape the map. He felt the weight of his ancestors' conquests, the hunger for expansion. This wasn't just about land, it was about proving their dominance. The Ottoman crescent, a symbol of defiance, seemed fragile from this distance. Within the walls of Constantinople, Sultan Mehmed II faced an impossible choice. His city, a bastion of Christendom, stood against the might of the Mongol horde, or what remained of it, now unified under the Golden Horde banner. He pored over battle plans, calculating every advantage, every weakness. The whispers of the infidel were growing louder, threatening to engulf everything he held dear. His faith, his people, their very existence hung in the balance. The Mongol advance was a relentless tide. Thousands of horsemen, hardened by decades of warfare, moved with a terrifying efficiency. Their tactics were simple, brutal, yet devastatingly effective. Speed, maneuverability, and a willingness to sacrifice, these were the hallmarks of their armies. They had conquered vast swaths of the world, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Constantinople was next. The Mongol archers were legendary. Their skill was unmatched, their range astonishing. Volleys of arrows rained down upon their enemies, a storm of death that could break any formation. Each arrow was a whisper of the steppe, a promise of swift and merciless destruction. Their mastery of the bow was a weapon of unparalleled power, a key to their victories. Within Constantinople, life continued as usual. The city pulsed with activity, a vibrant tapestry of commerce and faith. Merchants hawked their wares, priests led prayers, and children played in the streets. Unbeknownst to them, the shadow of war loomed large, a darkness that threatened to extinguish their light. The city's strength lay in its walls, its faith, and its resilience. Mehmed understood that brute force alone wouldn't suffice. He invested heavily in artillery, building colossal cannons capable of breaching the city's formidable walls. These were marvels of engineering, designed to shatter stone and instill fear. The clang of metal and the roar of furnaces echoed through the city, a grim prelude to the coming siege. The Theodosian walls were the pride of Constantinople, a testament to Roman engineering prowess. For centuries, they had repelled countless sieges, shielding the city from invasion. But even the strongest fortifications could be overcome with enough determination and firepower. The Mongols, though unconventional, were relentless. Bata's scouts moved like shadows, blending seamlessly with the civilian population. They observed the city's defenses, identifying weaknesses, mapping out potential attack routes. Deception was a key element of Mongol strategy. They studied their enemy, learning their habits, exploiting their vulnerabilities. The siege began with a thunderous barrage of artillery fire. The city trembled as cannonballs slammed into the walls, sending debris flying. Mongol warriors surged forward, engaging the defenders in fierce hand-to-hand combat. The streets ran red with blood, the air filled with the screams of the dying. The defenders of Constantinople fought with desperate courage. They unleashed volleys of Greek fire, a devastating incendiary weapon, upon the advancing Mongol hordes. The flames engulfed their enemies, forcing them to retreat. The battle raged on, a brutal dance of death played out against the backdrop of a besieged city. Bata traced a finger across the map, his eyes narrowed in concentration. The Greek fire had been a surprise, a fierce resistance he hadn't fully anticipated. His scouts reported dwindling supplies and rising morale among the defenders. A prolonged siege would be costly, stretching his army thin. He needed a decisive advantage, a way to break through the city's defenses. The whispers of a hidden passage beneath the walls had piqued his interest. It was a gamble, but one he was willing to take. He believed in calculated risks, in exploiting any weakness the enemy presented. The city walls groaned under the constant assault. Defenders, weary but resolute, worked tirelessly to mend the breaches, their movements a desperate dance against the encroaching darkness. The air was thick with smoke and the stench of burning wood and flesh. Below, the streets were a chaotic scene of refugees fleeing the fighting, their faces etched with fear and despair. Hope was fading, replaced by a grim determination to defend their home. They knew the Mongols were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. Each volley of arrows, each hurled stone, was a testament to their unwavering courage. Under the cover of darkness, Mongol engineers began their work. A hidden passage, rumored to exist beneath the city, was their key to bypassing the main defenses. The earth was hard-packed, requiring hours of back-breaking labor to excavate. Torches cast flickering shadows on the damp walls of the tunnel, revealing intricate stonework. The air was stale and heavy with the scent of ancient dust. Batu watched from a distance, his expression unreadable. This was a risky maneuver, but the potential reward was immense. A direct assault on the walls was proving too costly. The Mongol warriors moved through the claustrophobic tunnel, their footsteps echoing in the darkness. Each shadow seemed to hold a threat, each creak of the stone a potential warning. Their armor was scuffed and worn, their faces grim. They moved with practiced efficiency, their senses heightened, alert for any sign of resistance. The tunnel twisted and turned, disorienting them. The air grew colder, damper. Whispers circulated among the ranks, tales of ancient spirits guarding the passage. Bata had dismissed such stories as superstition, but a sense of unease settled over the group. A sudden tremor shook the tunnel, followed by a cascade of rocks and debris. The Mongols cried out in surprise and pain, scrambling to avoid the falling stones. Several warriors were injured, their armor dented and their limbs bruised. The tunnel walls seemed to be collapsing around them. Panic threatened to erupt, but Batu's voice cut through the chaos. He barked orders, urging his men to maintain their formation and press forward. This was not a mere accident, it was a trap. The defenders knew of the passage and had prepared for their arrival. Batu's gamble was beginning to backfire. The tunnel opened into a small chamber, where a handful of Byzantine soldiers lay in wait. A fierce, brutal fight erupted in the confined space. Swords clashed against shields, arrows whizzed through the air, and the air filled with the sounds of grunts and screams. The Mongols, caught off guard, struggled to gain the upper hand. The Byzantines fought with desperate ferocity, defending their city to the last man. Batu watched the battle unfold, his face a mask of fury. He had underestimated the defenders' resolve. The narrow confines of the tunnel negated the Mongols' numerical advantage. Batu roared, his voice echoing through the tunnel. He rallied his troops, urging them to press forward despite the setback. He acknowledged the losses, but emphasized the importance of achieving their objective. He promised them victory, a share of the spoils of war. His words ignited a renewed sense of purpose in the weary warriors. They straightened their backs, tightened their grip on their weapons, and prepared to continue their assault. The tunnel was a challenge, but it would not deter them. Batu refused to be defeated. He would break through the city's defenses, no matter the cost. His determination was unwavering. After what seemed like an eternity, the Mongol warriors emerged from the tunnel into a hidden courtyard within the city walls. The defenders, caught completely off guard, were stunned into silence. The Mongols surged forward, overwhelming the surprised defenders. The courtyard became a scene of carnage, a brutal testament to the Mongols' efficiency. The defenders fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. The element of surprise had shifted the battle in the Mongols' favor. Batu surveyed the scene, a grim satisfaction on his face. The tunnel had worked, but the true battle was yet to come. Batu stood before the city's governor, a weary man who had witnessed the fall of his city. The governor looked defeated, his shoulders slumped in resignation. Batu spoke in a low, commanding voice, demanding the city's surrender. The governor, knowing resistance was futile, reluctantly agreed. He offered Batu tribute and pledged his loyalty to the Mongol Empire. Batu accepted the terms, but he made it clear that any future acts of defiance would be met with swift and brutal retribution. The city of Constantinople had fallen, a major victory for the Mongol Empire. Constantinople lay in ruins, a testament to the devastating power of the Mongol army. Smoke rose from the damaged buildings, obscuring the skyline. The city's once magnificent structures were now scarred and broken. Mongol soldiers patrolled the streets, maintaining order and enforcing Batu's rule. The city's population was scattered, many fleeing to escape the violence and destruction. The fall of Constantinople marked a turning point in history, a symbol of the Mongol Empire's unprecedented power. The empire's reach extended far beyond its borders, reshaping the political landscape of the world. The governor, a shadow of his former self, could only nod. Batu's gaze intensified. Your city's treasures will be delivered to Karakorum. Your people will be integrated. A grim smile touched Bata's lips. He saw not victory, but the endless road ahead, the weight of conquest. The air hung heavy with the scent of smoke and the unspoken fear of the conquered. A single bird cried out in the distance, a mournful sound. Mongol soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, collecting valuables. A merchant's stall lay overturned, its contents scattered. A woman clutched a child, her eyes wide with terror. The city's vibrant life was replaced by a chilling silence, broken only by the clang of metal and the shouts of the soldiers. Hope seemed to have vanished, leaving only despair in its wake. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the ravaged streets. Amidst the chaos, Ilara moved like a ghost. She tended to the wounded in a hidden cellar, her hands gentle despite the grim surroundings. Her face, smudged with dirt and soot, held a spark of defiance. She whispered words of comfort, a silent rebellion against the invaders. Knowledge of herbs and healing passed down through generations, now a lifeline for the suffering. She knew resistance wouldn't be easy. Bata studied the broken walls, his eyes sharp and calculating. This city held strong, he murmured to Temujin. But its defenses were predictable. Temujin nodded, his face grim. The people fought bravely, Great Khan. But their spirit, it was broken. Bata considered their next move. Consolidating control would require more than just force. It demanded understanding and, perhaps, a little manipulation. The elderly man, his face lined with hardship, reached out a trembling hand. "Thank you, Ilara," he rasped. "You are a blessing in these dark times." Ilara offered a small, reassuring smile. "We must help each other survive," she replied softly. In his eyes, she saw a spark of the city's former glory, a resilience that refused to be extinguished. This small act of kindness was a small act of defiance. The Mongol officers debated strategies, their voices echoing in the grand hall. "The city's wealth must flow to Karakorum," one officer stated. "But we cannot cripple its economy entirely." Another argued for a strict system of taxation and control. Bata listened intently, guiding the discussion with a subtle gesture. He envisioned Constantinople not just as a source of riches, but as a strategic foothold in a vast empire. Sunlight dappled through the leaves as a young Ilara learned from her grandmother. The scent of herbs filled the air, a comforting aroma. Her grandmother's hands, weathered and wise, guided Ilara's. "The earth provides everything we need, child," she said. "Knowledge is power." This memory fueled Ilara's determination to help her people. Temujin unfurled a detailed map before Batu. "These districts harbor pockets of resistance, Great Khan," he explained. "They will require careful handling." He pointed to key locations, the aqueducts, the armories, the churches. "These are vital to the city's survival, and to our control." Bata studied the map, his mind already formulating a plan. He understood that conquering a city was only the first step. In secret, Ilara gathered a handful of former officials. "We cannot simply accept our fate," she urged. "We must find a way to resist." Fear was evident in their eyes, but also a flicker of determination. They spoke of hidden tunnels, secret passages, and forgotten alliances. The idea of a resistance movement, however small, began to take shape. A messenger arrived, breathless and urgent. "Great Khan, there is unrest. A rebellion is brewing." Batu's face darkened. He slammed his fist on the table. "They dare to defy me?" He rose, his eyes blazing with anger. "Crush it. Show them the consequences of disobedience." The fragile peace of Constantinople was about to shatter. Bata spurred his horse onward, the wind whipping at his face. The messenger's words ignited a familiar fury. Rebellion was a disease, and he was the cure. He envisioned the rebels, weak and disorganized, ripe for crushing. This small act of defiance would be met with overwhelming force. He would not tolerate dissent. The Khan's authority was absolute, a principle etched in blood and iron. His reputation demanded swift and brutal justice. The plains stretched endlessly, a canvas for his impending retribution. Ilara's voice resonated with quiet intensity. The Khan's response will be swift and merciless. Our only advantage is knowledge. We know the city's weaknesses, the hidden pathways, the overlooked defenses. We must use this to our advantage. We cannot fight his army head-on. Subterfuge, disruption, that is our path. We must sow seeds of doubt, of discord, within his ranks. It will be a perilous undertaking, fraught with danger. But inaction guarantees our subjugation. She looked at each face, seeking resolve. Temujin observed the map, his brow furrowed in thought. Batu's escalation was predictable, yet concerning. This rebellion, however small, threatened the stability of the entire region. He understood the Khan's ruthlessness, his unwavering commitment to power. But unchecked aggression bred resentment. A prolonged conflict would drain resources and sow further instability. He needed a solution, a way to quell the uprising without further bloodshed. Diplomacy, perhaps, a carefully worded offer of amnesty. Batu's generals stood before him, awaiting orders. The rebels are hiding in the old city district, Batu declared, his voice like grinding stone. They believe their defenses are impenetrable. They are wrong. We will systematically dismantle their fortifications and crush their leadership. No quarter will be given. Let the word spread, defiance will be met with annihilation. I expect swift and decisive action. The Khan demands nothing less. He fixed them with a steely gaze, leaving no room for doubt. The aqueducts are their primary water source, a nervous official whispered. If we can disrupt the flow, we can cripple their defenses. Ilara nodded, her eyes gleaming with a spark of hope. And the armories? Can you sabotage the weapons? Another official spoke. Yes, there are hidden access points. We can contaminate the stores, render them unusable. This will buy us time. Ilara listened intently, piecing together the plan. Risk was inherent, but inaction was not an option. Temujin rode through the market, observing the people. The energy was palpable, a mixture of commerce and discontent. He saw the weariness in their eyes, the subtle resentment simmering beneath the surface. He understood their plight, their struggle against oppression. He had once been one of them, a wanderer, a survivor. The weight of leadership rested heavily on his shoulders. He needed to find a way to balance justice with mercy. The city district erupted into chaos as Batu's troops surged forward. Arrows rained down from hidden vantage points. The defenders, though outnumbered, fought with fierce determination. The narrow streets became a maze of carnage. Buildings crumbled under the onslaught. The air filled with the screams of the wounded and the clash of steel. The rebels were fighting desperately, but their position was untenable. In the shadows, Ilara's team worked tirelessly. They sabotaged the aqueducts, causing the water flow to dwindle. They contaminated the armories, rendering the weapons unusable. The rebels watched in disbelief as their defenses crumbled. The disruption bought them precious time, but it was a desperate measure. The Khan's forces were relentless. The city was slowly being suffocated. Temujin arrived at the city gates, his heart heavy with sorrow. The scene before him was one of utter devastation. Buildings lay in ruins, the streets were littered with bodies. The air reeked of smoke and blood. He saw the resilience in the eyes of the remaining defenders, their unwavering spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. He felt a surge of anger, but also a deep sense of empathy. Batu confronted the rebel leader, a woman with eyes like ice. Your rebellion is over, Batu said, his voice devoid of emotion. Surrender, and I will grant you a merciful death. The rebel leader spat on the ground. We will never surrender. We will fight to the last breath. Our freedom is worth more than your power. She drew her sword, ready to defend her people. The clash was inevitable. Temujin stood amidst the ruins, a monument to shattered dreams. The city, once a beacon of defiance, now lay broken and silent. He saw the faces of the fallen, their sacrifices echoing in the desolate streets. This victory felt hollow, a bitter testament to the cost of power. Yet, a flicker of hope remained, the resilience in the surviving citizens. He vowed to rebuild, not with conquest, but with compassion, forging a new future from the ashes of the old. The weight of leadership settled upon him, heavy but resolute. Ilara watched from the shadows, the city's destruction a stark reflection of her own internal conflict. The aqueducts, the armories, all crumbled under her team's efforts. Victory tasted like ash. She had sought to dismantle a corrupt regime, but the cost was immense. The faces of the innocent, caught in the crossfire, haunted her. Was this liberation or simply another form of tyranny? The lines blurred, and Ilara questioned the path she had chosen, the price of revolution and the true meaning of justice. Batu addressed the scattered rebels, his voice amplified by the ruins. Their resistance was broken, their spirit diminished. He offered not vengeance, but a chance for redemption, to rebuild, to contribute to a new order. He spoke of unity, of shared responsibility, of a future where power served the people, not the other way around. Some remained defiant, but many saw the wisdom in his words, a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. The battle was won, but the true work was just beginning. The rebel leader met Temujin's gaze, the icy resolve softening slightly. Defeat had stripped her of her anger, leaving behind a quiet strength. She saw in him not a conqueror, but a leader burdened by responsibility. A shared understanding passed between them, a recognition of the sacrifices made, the devastation wrought. Perhaps, she thought, a new path was possible, one built not on bloodshed, but on forgiveness and reconciliation. The fight was over, but the healing had just begun. Temujin and the rebel leader stood side by side, silhouetted against the setting sun. The ruined city stretched before them, a testament to both destruction and potential. A fragile peace settled over the land, a promise of rebuilding and reconciliation. Their hands brushed, a silent acknowledgement of shared pain and a cautious hope for the future. The shadows lengthened, but a new dawn was on the horizon, a dawn forged in the ashes of conflict, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit.